Welcome back. Today, we're jumping into a big one, Quant, also known as QNT. Now, this is a project that gets a ton of buzz, but honestly, it can be pretty confusing. So our mission today is to cut right through all that noise and give you a clear 360-degree look at what this thing is really all about.
Okay, so let's kick things off with something that I know drives people absolutely nuts, the day-to-day price. You know the drill. One day you check the charts and hey, Quant's up, doing better than everything else. But then the next day, bam, it's in the red, just getting dragged down with the whole market. It just feels so random, doesn't it? So, what's actually going on here?
Well, here's the thing you gotta understand. Most of the time, these daily jumps and dips have almost nothing to do with Quant itself. It's basically just following the leader of the crypto pack, Bitcoin. Bitcoin's having a good day, Quant probably is too. Bitcoin's down, Quant gets pulled down right along with it. A lot of these moves happen on really low trading volume, which kind of tells you there's not a lot of strong belief behind them. It's just the general market mood, that fear and greed stuff pulling the strings.
And you know, that brings us to the real question, the much more important question. If we can't really trust the chaotic daily price chart to tell us anything meaningful, what should we be looking at? What is the actual story behind Quant?
So to really get what Quant is all about, we have to look past that price ticker. We've got to pop the hood and dive into the tech. At its very core, Quant is trying to solve one of the biggest headaches in the entire crypto world. See, right now, most blockchains are basically like their own little islands. They can't easily talk to each other or share information. Bitcoin's on its own island, Ethereum's on another, you get the picture. Quant's whole mission is to build the bridges between all these islands. And there's a word for that: interoperability. Probably the best way to think about Quant's main product, which is called Overledger, is to imagine it's a universal translator. You know, like the Babelfish from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but for blockchains. It basically creates this special layer that sits on top of all these different networks and allows them to finally understand each other and communicate. And it works in 3 pretty simple steps: connect, translate, and enable. First, Overledger connects to all those different blockchains. Then, it translates their unique languages into one standard format everyone can understand. And finally, it enables them to seamlessly send messages and value back and forth. Now, this is a total game changer for developers and big companies, because it means they don't have to use those risky, complicated bridges you're always hearing about getting hacked. So what about the token itself, QNT? Well, what's really important to know here is that it has a fixed supply. There will only ever be around 14.6 million of these tokens in existence. Period. And they have a really specific job. Think of them like a license key or a fee you have to pay to get access to the Overledger network. So the theory goes, the more the network gets used, the more demand there should be for these tokens. Okay, so we've got this really powerful technology, but what's the bigger vision here? Let's zoom out a bit and look at the institutional case for Quant, because this is where it starts to get really interesting. This quote just perfectly nails the bull case for Quant. The big idea isn't for it to be some flashy crypto that everyone's trading day to day. No, the vision is for it to become a fundamental, totally invisible piece of the plumbing for the entire global financial system as it upgrades for the future. And listen, this isn't just theory. Quant has some seriously impressive partnerships. We're talking about SWIFT, which is basically the backbone of all international banking. They're working with huge central banks, like the Bank of England, on what the future of money is going to look like. They're even integrated with tech giants like Oracle. This is just not your average crypto project. It's got deep, deep roots in the traditional finance world, and a lot of that is thanks to its founder, Gilbert Verdian, who comes from a world of top-tier cybersecurity and finance. So this is the million-dollar question, right? Or maybe the billion-dollar question. With all this institutional firepower behind it, what could Quant's price actually do in the future? Well, let's take a look at some of the forecasts.
All right, time for the juicy stuff, price predictions. But before we dive in, let me just say, and you know the drill, this is absolutely not financial advice. These are just what some computer algorithms are spitting out, and as you're about to see, they are kind of all over the map.
Okay, let's break this down. We're looking at a few different models predicting where Quant might land by the end of 2026. One model from CoinCodex has a target around $155. Then you've got a machine learning model that gives a range. A more conservative guess, what they call a non-euphoria peak, is somewhere between $99 and $155. But if the market goes into a crazy bull run, that euphoria peak could be anywhere from $213 to $270. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that nobody really knows.
The predictions are literally all over the place, from pretty modest gains to absolutely massive surges. And that, right there, is the perfect summary of what Quant is: a potentially high-risk, high-reward bet. The future is anything but guaranteed.
And that uncertainty brings us perfectly to our next section, the reality check. Because for all the exciting potential, it can't all be sunshine and roses, right? There are some very real risks we have to talk about.
Let's be super clear about this. Quant is not the only project out there trying to solve this interoperability problem, not by a long shot. They are playing in a stadium with some very big, very well-funded competitors.
And here are just a handful of the heavyweights sharing the ring with Quant. You've got Polkadot and Cosmos. These are enormous projects built from the ground up for interoperability. You've got Hyperledger, laser-focused on big business. Even Chainlink, the undisputed king of oracles, is getting into this space. So make no mistake, this is an incredibly crowded and competitive field. And on top of all that competition, Quant is still a crypto asset, so it comes with all the usual risks. We're talking insane price swings, the risk that maybe the demand they hope for just never shows up, governments changing the rules overnight, and, of course, the constant threat of bugs in the code or cyber attacks. And so, that leaves us with the central question, the ultimate dilemma of Quant. On one hand, you have this absolutely incredible technology with powerful real-world connections to the traditional financial system. But on the other hand, you have a brutal battlefield of competitors and all the standard risks of crypto. So the big question remains, can Quant's massive long-term vision actually become a reality and translate into real-world value? That's what the entire market is waiting to find out.